If you are trying to split your focus, you're not focused. This is half focus. Is it really? So do you guys see my point? I thought that would be interesting, but this is the point. Half focus is no focus. Each one of these careers, these things, your full-time job, your 9-to-5, your traditional job, your creative career, each one deserves your focus. And this might be both kind of a stretch and a conflict in both respects. You might say, well, doesn't my full-time job deserve more focus because it's bringing in more income? Or you might say, doesn't my passion project, my creative life, my art, doesn't that deserve more focus? Because that's really where my heart is. And that's honestly where I want to lead to. I want to do this full time in terms of my art. So shouldn't that get more focus? Well, I'm here to help you to see this as each one deserves the equal amount of focus. Why? Because focus is 100%. Focus is 100%. If you are trying to split your focus, you're not focused. And so when you are at your full-time position, it deserves your 100% focus. Now, I am guilty as much as anyone of sliding over to Instagram, sliding over to Gmail, sliding over and trying to multitask. But I think we've all probably heard the stories and read the research by now that says multitasking is not actually multitasking. You're not doing more than that one task at the same time. You're actually task switching, but there's no such thing as multitask. You are only able to do one thing at one time. So when you are at your full-time position, whatever that is, it deserves your full-time focus. But conversely, when you are at your creative side hustle, it deserves your full-time focus. So you cannot then say, well, I'm just going to do this kind of like on the side and play and practice a little bit. And just, it's not really serious. And it's just my little thing. I used to say that all the time. And my wife would get on me so much, and other people too. It's just your little thing. Stop saying that. It's not little. And they were right. Just creating it little, being little and dumbing it down, saying, oh, it's just a little thing. I'm not going to really focus on it. It's impossible to say that it's then a focus or even like something you're doing. No, the Bible is very clear about whatsoever you do in word or deed, eat or drink, I think it's Colossians. Do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus to the glory of God, which means doing it with all your might, all your soul, doing it to your best of your ability. So your creative side hustle deserves 100% focus whenever you're able to do it. Now, maybe that does mean you have to wake up at 5 in the morning to do it. Maybe that does mean that you have to, push yourself a little bit to get that practice time in at 7. Maybe that does mean like spending weekends all day at rehearsals when you got your work day coming up on Monday does require a lot more energy and a lot more focus for you. But it's worth it and it deserves it. Your creative focus shouldn't be at the detriment of your full-time life, and your full-time life should not be at the detriment of your full-time creative life. That's that issue that we just discussed about whether or not your full-time job takes away from your creative side hustle. If you see them as compatible, as you say, you know what? Basically like Gerald said, I'm a full-time this, but I'm also a full-time musician. I'm a full-time this, but I'm also a full-time this. And both of them get my focus. Now one helps the other. This is absolutely true in my own creative life. I can tell you, honestly, I would not have a full-time position as a podcast producer and a worship band director if I didn't have a side hustle, which gave me the skills that then I was able to use in my full-time position. And vice versa. The skills that I'm learning and the leadership I'm having to exert and discuss and figure out in my full-time position are being utilized in my creative side hustles, which have nothing necessarily specifically to do with my full-time job. They are compatible. Now you might say, wait, well, I'm a firefighter. I'm doing this, and this doesn't have anything to do with my creative life. I beg to differ. I guarantee you, if you really think about it, your skills in one area are applicable. Now, maybe not specifically, obviously, you're not doing the same job, but the mindset, the discipline, the ability for you to focus, the ability for you to solve problems, whatever that job is, 100% can apply to your creative life, because it's not just your creativity that's being exercised when you're creating. It is your left brain. It is your logic. There are other things inside your brain that are being exercised when you are in those other fields. And so it's super important that you realize the value of your full-time position to your creative life and vice versa. It is not compatible. It's not competitive. It's compatible. So now let's talk about the time issue, because that's where I started this. So I'll give you some of these strategies right now in terms of time management and just how do you keep your creative passion fueled at the same time that you're also doing your 9 to 5. Well, one of these is making it a natural part of your day. And when I say a natural part of my day, I'm saying that it should not be where it feels like there's this sudden break and I have to like make myself do something different. If it is a natural part of my day to obviously go to my job, but it's also a natural part of my day to transition to doing something creative, then it no longer feels like this combative kind of, oh my gosh, like I didn't have time for this. I had to force myself. Oh, I had to carve this out. And it becomes kind of like it does with exercise and a lot of other issues, where we have time issues and we feel like we're trying to do it by willpower. If you make the creative part of your day a natural part, which just kind of flows with it, you no longer feel that tension. So one way I do this is, one thing I love to do is just kind of noodle at the piano a little bit. And usually it's funny, it usually happens right around when I'm supposed to be doing something else. I'm supposed to be washing the dishes. My wife knows she knows this 100%. And she always probably thinks, like, why is he procrastinating? But it's also a natural part of my day when it's time to do dishes, before I do dishes. And if I'm kind of like, I don't want to do this right now. Like one of my natural things is to kind of slide to the piano and just play through the last 3 or 4 songs I played or listened to and do some improv and just kind of like exercise that part of my brain and work through some things and see if I can play the last song I played or whatever. So kind of, not even formal, not practice, just I want to sit at the piano for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But it's natural. It's not, oh my God, I got to practice. Oh man, I didn't work on that thing. Oh gosh, I'm hoping I got to do the rest of it. Like the pressure is off. So my advice to you is, where can you find a natural part of your day where creativity and your creative passion fit without you having to do a lot of pressure work and a lot of scheduling? Where is it that you can say, hey, you know what? I can just do this. And it's just fun to do. I can just pull out my notepad and just write a few notes while I'm waiting for this particular person to send me this email. I can, work on this song. I can do some warm-ups in the car. One of the things that I've really found myself kind of being challenged by is my commute to work, which is kind of, not the shortest commute for me. But I'm realizing I've been gifted with traffic and an hour to work on something totally creative in the car when there's no distractions. I could turn off the radio. I could turn off these other things, and I can just literally let my mind just marinate on that thing that I want to work on, or those things or those ideas. Or maybe if I'm sitting in traffic, sit still, pull out a notebook real quick and write something. Or even better, do a voice note on some song ideas. So it's a natural part of my day because it's already part of my day. Like I'm already on the expressway. I'm already in traffic. So why not make that part of my creative passion part of my day? Now, if it's something you can't get to, once again, it can't be maybe painting, but is there a way that you can make getting up and just getting to your studio a natural part of your day? That's is not a push, shove. Oh my gosh, I'm missing out on time. I have to like willpower myself to make time for this. Because if so, you're going to be much more comfortable with that full-time job, creative side hustle, working on both of them in concert, not feeling like there's stress between the two. And now, if you are making it a part of your day, guess what? Yeah, you are going to have to implement some systems. And when I say systems, this is something I'm working on, but you're watching me do it literally right now. One of my systems is, once I realize that my creative portion of the day is, okay, at 1 o'clock on Fridays, I'm not in the office. I need to have some type of system that allows me to be more consistent with doing these creative checkup lives. This is part of my creative side hustle. Guiding Gigs is not specifically the only full-time income I have, or it's not the only side hustle I have. It's not the only creative passion I have. So it's got to be a system in place so I can get this done. So guess what? I implemented some systems so that this part of my creative life is consistent and flows. That's why you can pretty much count on me being here every Friday, except if I'm out of town or there's a family situation where I want to make sure I focus on them. I have a system now. StreamYard, the very system I'm using right now, the very thing that's allowing me to do this is a system that allows me to go in and schedule at 10 o'clock last night or 10 o'clock in the morning. I have a system where I go ahead and pick the topic. I look at what people are interested in. I ask you guys sometimes on the chat, what are you interested in? And I have the system. I have everything set up already. Cameras already set up. I know where this is going to be. I was able to kind of get this going in I was running late today, but I was able to get this going in about 30 minutes because the system is already there. The slides are already there. The creative space, which in our consistent creative challenge, we call this enhancing your environment. My environment is optimized for me to get my creative stuff done when I have the time to do my creative stuff. So my question to you is this: have you optimized your environment? Have you elevated your environment so that when you are off of your creative, your full-time job, got mixed up there, are you able to make the switch because your environment is set up for it? Are your time systems in place, and are your physical systems, the things you use, the things you set up, the things, your studio area, all that stuff, have you implemented the system so it's so easy for you to simply flip the switch, turn your brain off of your full-time job and move your focus to the other one? Because if not, it's going to continue to be a struggle and you'll continue to feel this kind of pressure between the two. Okay? So I really, really suggest you find systems. Now, how do you figure out these systems? Well, one, obviously, I would suggest that you join our Facebook group if you're not already in there, that you talk to people that already do this and ask them, what system do you use? I just gave you some of mine. I said my time blocking. I've had systems, obviously, when it comes, well, I shouldn't say obviously, but it's obvious to me because I use them all the time. But my systems where I make sure that I know when I'm going to be working on my podcast. When does that happen? When do my VAs need to have certain things from my VAs? That's a system I didn't have before. I had to develop a system. First, I had to hire a VA, and then I had to figure out, how do I pay the VA? And then I had to see, what does the VA need? Those were all systems I had to develop. It's simply a method or a process of getting something from A to B is your system. Okay? Not something that's like super complicated. So first, my question to you is, do you have a system? Yes or no? 2, B part of that question is, are you consistent with your system? Because a system that is not consistent is not really working as a system. It's just a suggestion. But you've got to get more consistent with your system. My friend, thank you for watching this episode. If that blessed you, you got to make sure that you stay connected with this community and this channel so that you can get more where that came from. We're sharing great interviews, tactics, strategies, mindsets, lifestyle choices, everything is going to help you become a totally confident creative. And don't miss an episode of the Guiding Gigs Show. If you are staying connected to our channel, you'll be able to find us anytime we release new episodes. And you can check out some of our archives of almost 200 episodes now that we've shared over the last few years. Make sure you check out one of the suggestions right now because it's probably perfect for you to continue to develop as a creative. And continue to stay connected with us because we're here to help you become the creative that God created you to be. We'll see you in the next episode.